The battle with the witch cult has ended, and Subaru is traveling back to Krish's manor with best girl Emilia, when he discovers that everybody has forgotten Rem. Who's Rem? It is then revealed to us that Krish and Rem were ambushed by the Sin Archbishops of Greed and Gluttony. They both got devoured by the Sin Archbishop of Gluttony, Lie, which caused Rem to fall into a coma, and no one but Subaru remembers her. Krush just lost her memories, which is still pretty bad. Now Subaru is obviously devastated, but he puts that main character brain of his to work and commits suicide, thinking that if he can kill himself, his return by death will allow him to go back and prevent the tragedy. Unfortunately, when he returns by death, he goes back to a time after the tragedy has already occurred. He and Emilia then have a conversation about the alliance with the alliance members, and they all continue their alliance. After that, Subaru starts grieving for Rem because only he remembers her, and Emilia comforts him. Well, he got Emilia's attention at the sacrifice of Rem. Subaru, Emilia, and best boy Otto then return to Roswaal Manor with a comatose Rem. There they meet Frederica, who I legitimately thought was an enemy when I first saw her, but she's actually just an ex-maid who returned at Ram's request. We also find out that Petra, one of the girls from the village, just started working at the manor as an apprentice. My boy Subaru then goes to find Jailbait and ask her about the gospel. Beatrice, then tells him to go to the sanctuary, and I was just as confused as he was when I watched the episode. Frederica tells Emilia that Roswaal, Ram, and the villagers they had evacuated are all at the sanctuary. Frederica then tells them that to get to the sanctuary, they need to go past a barrier that locks it from the outside world. She gives Emilia a crystal that allows them to pass through this barrier. And so on to the sanctuary brick road they go. As they begin passing the barrier, however, the crystal starts to glow and Emilia falls unconscious. Subaru is then transported to the middle of a goddamn forest where he follows an elf girl. He goes into the ruins where we then meet the woman who wants to give us her juices, Echidna, the Witch of Greed. Now Subaru's obviously confused because she's supposed to be long dead, but then she reveals that they're just in a mental space that her soul lives in, and she then invites him for some tea. Tea time is special, what can I say? So they talk for a little, then Subaru remembers he was actually on a mission to go to the sanctuary and gets up and leaves. He wakes up back at the ruins and is attacked by Garfield. And even though it's pretty obvious, if you haven't figured it out by now, Garfield is Frederica's brother. After Subaru mentions Frederica, Garfield stops attacking him and takes him over to the rest of his crew. Said crew then go over to Roswaal and Ram. It's then revealed that the barrier that they're inside of keeps in half-breeds. This includes Emilia. To break the barrier, a half-breed must go into the ruins and pass a trial. Roswaal tried, but he failed since he technically isn't really a half-breed. Garfield then reveals that all the other half-breed inhabitants of the sanctuary have taken the villagers hostage and demand that Emilia take the trial. Now, having literally no other choice but to take the trial if she wants to leave the sanctuary, she does, but Subaru notices that something has gone wrong and follows her in. Echidna then allows Subaru to also partake in the trial, because she likes him like that. And so Subaru falls asleep and wakes up back in Japan. They've managed to put 2 isekais in an isekai anime. Nice! And so Subaru wakes up in Japan without the memories of Emilia, Rem, and gang. And so we meet Subaru's mother and father. His father is built like an absolute G and his mother is an absolute baddie. They try to get him to go back to school, but obviously this man isn't going to go back. He's been through a little too much. We then see that Subaru keeps on having headaches whenever he tries to run from his problemos. Subaru's father sees that something's bothering his son, so they go out for a walk. It's then revealed that the headaches are caused by the suppressed memories of Emilia, Ram, and the whole gang. As Subaru remembers everything, he all of a sudden becomes a Chad, just like his dad. They have a man-to-man, father-to-son conversation, and Subaru tells his father that he wanted to abandon him, but also tells him that he's finally found people who accept him, and the two become homies again. It seems the two had issues, but now they're chill again. And so the next day, Subaru puts on his uniform and goes to school, and his mother wishes him well. When he gets to school, however, he sees the Witch of Greed Echidna there. Absolute baddie, by the way. Echidna says good shit for clearing the first trial and overcoming his past, and says there's basically 2 more. And all of a sudden, he wakes back up next to Emilia. She wakes up though and suffers a mental breakdown because she failed her own trial, because she's useless like that. I'm just kidding, Emilia can never be useless. So he picks her up and takes her back to the sanctuary where everybody's chilling, waiting for them. While they're all sitting around, they try to think of a way to go out the sanctuary without breaking the barrier. The sanctuary elder Ryuzu, who's actually the little elf girl Subaru was chasing after earlier, reveals that breaking the barrier is the only way to get out of the sanctuary. Oh, by the way, for some reason Puck can't come out of his crystal, so this has got Emilia in a bind as well. And so the next day, Emilia once again tries to clear the trials and fails spectacularly. Subaru and Roswaal then have a conversation which basically went, "Why you no help on witch cult attack? Cause I want you to take credit for it." F you, man. But remember, my fellow Imoutos, Subaru has the main character brain, and he tells the sanctuary residents to let the villagers go and that Emilia will still stay behind to clear the trial for them. The people of the sanctuary aren't evil, so they let the villagers go. Subaru then returns to Roswaal Mansion, and when he goes there, it's pretty empty. All of a sudden, we meet the seductive assassin lady, and she kills him. This man cannot catch a break, goddamn. And so Subaru respawns right next to the crying Emilia, and tells her he'll complete the other trials himself. This makes Garfield think of him as a weenie, and disappoints Emilia, who thinks he doesn't trust her anymore. Subaru then goes to Roswaal and tells him about a plan to head back to the mansion early to check in with Frederica, and he says Ram should join him. On the way back, Ram has these vague memories about the past, which leads to Subaru telling her about Rem. At the mansion, Subaru reunites with Petra and reintroduces Rem and Ram. Granted, Rem is in a coma, so it's more Rem to Ram. He then asks Frederica why the hell he teleported because of the crystal that she gave him, but she can't answer him because of an oath she took or some shit. Elsa then appears. Oh my god, she's as bad as ever. And so Frederica starts to fight Elsa. She dies. And the others go over to Rem's room to protect her, where they're met by mob beasts and they die. Subaru then tries to protect Rem and jumps into her room when he's about to get killed by Elsa, but Beatrice saves him. Now Subaru is pissed and he tries to kill himself because he thinks he'll go back in time and save them all. And Beatrice ain't having any of that shit and she stops him. He then notices that she has a witch's gospel, just like the archbishops, and tells her, "Why the hell do you have a witch's gospel?" She then reveals that everything she has done has been under the orders of the gospel. Big baddie Elsa then appears and kills Subaru, cause why not? And so he respawns, and once again he's making plans to leave the trial to Emilia and goes to have a private talk with Garfield and a girl who looks oddly like Ryuzu. But as we have all learned, every single time he dies, the miasma of the witch around him increases, and so Garfield and Ryuzu think he's a witch cultist. They take him captive, but my boy Otto finds him and reveals that he and Ram have an escape plan. Subaru asks Otto, "Why the hell are you saving me?" And Otto does the bullshit shonen, "It's cause I'm your friend, homie." And this is when Otto became best boy. Subaru then goes to Roswaal and confronts him, asking why the hell does Beatrice have a gospel? Roswaal then reveals that it's one of the 2 tomes of wisdom, not a gospel, and that it reveals the person's future. He then says that all Subaru needed to do was tell Beatrice that he is that person, and this confuses my boy Subaru. I'm confused as well, actually. Garfield, however, is still hot on their tail and he starts chasing them. Petraj, Best Dragon, Otto, and the villagers help Subaru escape while Ram holds Garfield off, but he catches up and kills everybody. Subaru, however, makes it across the barrier, but then he's teleported by Frederica's crystal once again. He wakes back up at the sanctuary but finds out that it's abandoned. He's then ambushed and literally eaten alive by a horde of rabbits. These rabbits are also mobbies just like the white whale. Subaru's respawned and my boy is traumatized. I would be too, just got eaten alive. But then Echidna comforts him. Yes, Echidna, comfort my boy. She then tells him that she knows about his return by death and that he can freely talk to her in this space. Nothing's gonna happen. Subaru breaks down. He starts crying. He is weeping and Echidna comforts him. Echidna then reveals that the horde of rabbits is actually one of the 3 great mobbies created by the Witch of Gluttony, Daphne. They are referred to as the Great Rabbit. She then reveals that all the other witches also reside in this space and tells Subaru she can arrange a meeting with Daphne. When he's supposed to meet Daphne, however, the Witch of Pride, Typhon, appears. She tests if he's a sinner, but to do this she breaks off my boy's arms and shatters his body. Well, at least he's not a sinner, right guys? Luckily, however, he is healed by Minerva, the Witch of Wrath. She heals him like she's a goddamn JoJo's character. She's Giorno Stan, my guy. He finally meets Daphne and they start arguing about the morality of her creating the big-ass mob beasts that literally kill everyone. She then tells him that the great rabbits attracted to large magical sources and that the sanctuary was literally full of it, so of course they'd go there. And so Subaru leaves, and when he goes back, he finds out that Satella has possessed Emilia. She's killed literally everybody and is about to devour him using her miasma, but Garfield saves him. During this, we can see that Roswaal is also getting devoured by the miasma, and he tells Subaru he'll have to try harder next time. Did this man know about Return by Death? And so Garfield tries to attack Satella with an army of Ryuzu clones, but it fails and they die. She then makes my boy Subaru go loco, but he kills himself. Obviously, he respawns and is happy to see that Emilia is still herself. Subaru then starts investigating the sanctuary and discovers an abandoned lab where he finds the original Ryuzu in suspended animation, like a crystal, kinda like Annie. He is then confronted by Ryuzu Mayor, this one, and she explains that they're all clones created by Echidna as part of an immortality experiment. She also reveals that having met Echidna, this makes Subaru an apostle of greed, giving him command over the clones. Welcome, Subaru, to the Echidna fan club. Subaru then goes to have a heart-to-heart with Emilia and basically says, "Trust me," and she goes, "Okay." She tells him to stay with her that night, not in a weird way, of course. And he says, "Okay, I won't leave." But literally the next morning, he's out. He's on his way to the mansion, but is stopped by Garfield. He somehow makes it so Garfield doesn't kill him and goes on to the mansion, where he makes Frederica and Petra take Rem and evacuate before he confronts Beatrice. Subaru then takes the Tome of Wisdom right out of Beatrice's little childlike hands and finds it blank. She then reveals that she's under a contract to wait for that person who will kill her, and the two get into an argument, but then they're interrupted by big girl Elsa's arrival. Subaru takes Beatrice and they skedaddle, but then they're stopped by Meili? God damn, she's actually a mob beast tamer who's killed everybody else. So Beatrice and Elsa fight, and she kills Elsa, but Elsa somehow comes back to life and stabs her right in the back, and Beatrice dies. Before she dies, however, she teleports Subaru back to the sanctuary, and when he arrives, he finds out that it's snowing and that Emilia's gone literally batshit insane from failing the trial over and over again. Garfield thinks Emilia is the one causing all the snow and tells her to stop it, but Subaru thinks it's Roswaal and goes over to confront him. And so Garfield and Subaru go over to Roswaal's little residence, where Roswaal literally kills Ram and Garfield before revealing that he is in possession of the second Tome of Wisdom and that he knows Subaru can time loop. The Great Rabbit literally attacks and kills Roswaal while Subaru survives just long enough with literal holes and parts missing from his body to reach Emilia. And so they share their first kiss while this man is literally dying with holes in his body. Hence the episode name, The Taste of Death. He respawns like a Call of Duty player and decides to go talk to Echidna, but instead of getting to her, he goes to the second trial. In this trial, he has to see the reactions of everybody else to his deaths. Watching all of these reactions is causing him to break down, but best girl Rem appears and calms him down. But something is sus, and it's revealed that the person in front of him is not Rem, but actually the Witch of Lust, Camilla. Echidna had actually sent her over to calm him down, and he goes to confront Echidna, and she says she's willing to make a contract with him where he can consult her anytime. Just before he can accept, however, the other witches warn him not to trust Echidna, and she comes clean to Subaru, revealing her desire to obtain his return by death and to study it, and reveals that she is the one who put Beatrice in the library to wait for that person who doesn't actually exist. Subaru declines her contract, and then all of a sudden Satella appears. Satella then confronts Subaru and tells him he should love himself more. But this, coming from literally the person who is the root cause of all of his suffering, causes him to snap, and he rants about how his life literally doesn't matter before trying to kill himself to get out of the situation. Minerva, however, revives him, and Camilla reminds him of how people have grieved for him in the second trial, and causes him to second guess himself, and not kill himself. She tells Subaru that she's waiting for him to kill her, but then he says he will love himself more and that he will also come to save her. Just like a normal isekai protagonist. He wakes up and finds out that he can't take the trials anymore, probably because he pissed off Echidna. He then confronts Roswaal, who reveals that he's extremely disappointed in Subaru for not taking advantage of his time looping abilities. He also reveals that he's the one who has hired Elsa to go and kill everybody at the manor. This is so he can be molded into his image. Subaru can either save the mansion or the sanctuary, not both. Subaru, however, realizes that Roswaal is an absolute madman and runs away and is confronted by Otto, who, like the best boy he is, tells him to stop shouldering his problems alone and to trust his homies a little more. And that is where we end Ray Zero Season 2 Part 1 Explained. If you liked the video, why don't you like the video, comment down below, and drop a subscribe. I'd greatly appreciate it. And I'll see you all in the next video. Toodaloo, my fellow Imoutos.